plaintiff, Jeannie Hempstead, says she and the defendant were best friends, and they even lived together. But Jeannie claims the defendant damaged their apartment while having sex, so Jeannie's suing. Defendant Amanda Tishner says Jeannie is a former crack dealer, and things fell apart after she moved her 43-year-old sex offender boyfriend into the apartment they shared. Amanda's countersuing for rent.
Start with you.
We've been best friends since 7th grade, and I've done everything I can to help her out. I should have realized early on that she dropped me as a friend whenever she got a new boyfriend. When she was 16, she got pregnant, and we didn't talk for 2 years.
I dropped you as a friend whenever I got a boyfriend, but yet you dropped me and my daughter for a 43-year-old sex offender. Yeah.
Not true.
That's not true, really. Okay. So you're going to lie in a courtroom.
All right, ma'am, let her give her side. Go ahead. What else you want me to know? You all stopped speaking for 2 years, and then obviously you resumed?
Yes. On February we decided to move in together, and on February 24th, we signed a 1 year's lease.
What year?
2011. And we agreed to both pay half of the rent. She only lived there 2 weeks, and she had many different guests in our house, one of them resulting in damages to the wall, which I have a picture of. The story she told me was that she was having sex with someone and their head was on the wall and left grease stains.
Really? The damages that you're talking about are in the hallway, and it's a hole from whenever we moved in.
It came from him banging his head?
His head, she said he had grease on his head.
Thank you. Try to lie again.
Oh, there is also a hole in the hallway.
Oh.
Yeah.
Damn. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. Excuse me, man. I just say excuse me. I apologize, but that sounds pretty extraordinary.
Sounds like a lie to me, Your Honor.
No wonder my man come in grinning.
It sounds like a lie to me, Your Honor.
All right. I mean, you might want to pop your collar on that.
It's not a fact.
The story she told me was that she was having sex with someone and their head was on the wall and left grease stains.
It came from him banging his head?
His head, she said he had grease on his head.
Thank you. Try to lie again. Yeah.
Damn. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. Excuse me, man.
Defendant Amanda Tishner rented an apartment with the plaintiff until the plaintiff moved in her 43-year-old boyfriend, who's a convicted sex offender.
Go ahead, ma'am.
She met her boyfriend I think it was a week after we moved in. The next day after she met him, she had moved him into our house. 5 days later, we had a disagreement, and I told her that he could no longer live there.
Let me allow her to speak before we get to the rent and the damages, because she keeps butting in and obviously has something to say.
Yeah, very much so.
Go ahead,
Thank you, Your Honor. And she's going to talk about me choosing boyfriends over her, but yet whenever I was pregnant with my daughter, I tried to call her to get her to come to the hospital, and she denied me, probably because she was selling crack at that time.
That's not true.
And her mother is sitting here. Her mother is sitting here as a witness whenever she's a former crackhead herself.
She doesn't look like what society projects as a typical crack dealer.
Yeah, well,
society
I was
projects
surprised too, honestly, when she told
to be
me.
Inner city tough.
I was surprised too when she told me.
And here we have an innocent looking.
Honestly, Your Honor, I was surprised too.
Deal with this. You used to sell crack?
No, sir.
When did you stop?
I never did.
Okay, maybe I said it wrong. Not used to. Do you currently sell crack?
No, sir.
You've never sold crack?
No, sir.
And you don't now?
No, sir.
Do you intend to in the future?
No, sir.
So where's she getting this from?
I don't know.
Because you bragged about it. That's how I got it.
Who does she brag to?
To me. She told me that whenever she was living in Indy, whenever her mom was in prison, she used to sell crack. It's like, come on, why would I lie about something like that?
And she never called me to ask me to come to when her baby was born.
To bring her some crack?
To the hospital when her baby was born.
Okay.
I did attend her baby shower.
All right, let me allow you, this is your mom?
Yes,
Let me
sir.
allow her to defend herself if she'd like. State your name.
Yes, I would like to. Margaret Sherman.
All right. You crackhead or used to be a crackhead?
No.
Never been
sir.
a crackhead?
No, sir.
Not one now?
No, no,
Do
sir.
you intend to be in the future?
No, sir.
Anything else you want to tell her?
Yeah, I just want to say that it really upsets me that Amanda would even do this to my daughter when she's tried to help her in so many ways. I mean, they lived together for 2 weeks, and in them 2 weeks, I had her daughter like 9 to 10 days. I mean,
Where was she
Really-
those
it really-
9 to 10 days?
they were at their house in Indianapolis, and her daughter was at my house in
The
Greensboro.
two of them.
Yes, these two.
For 9 straight days. You know,
No,
you smoking
often-
crack too. That's a binge. You leave her with the baby and you and her sit up for 9 days.
No,
Yes,
it was
sir.
not
No, Your
9
Honor.
days.
No,
You
it was
smoked out. That's a quarter of a key. Huh? 9 days? Well, y'all didn't bust your hearts. What do you say, ma'am?
not 9 straight days. I'm not saying that.
Oh, okay.
No.
Ma'am, anything else before we get to the rent she's suing you about?
Yeah, actually, and no, it was not 9 days. It was
Yes,
maybe a
Amanda.
total of 5 or 6
Time
days
flies
off
when
and
you're
on.
smoking crack down there.
No, I have never smoked crack before.
I'm
But
having fun with y'all. I'm having fun. Don't look so
but
mean, man.
pretty
I'm
much-
just having fun. I know you don't smoke crack.
pretty much the reason why we're here today is
Pardon me?
because I said pretty much the reason why we're here today is because she apparently was jealous because I found me a loving man that was willing to take and is willing to take care of me and my daughter. We are now married now. What had happened is that she had moved in her 43-year-old sex offender boyfriend.
That's not true, Your Honor.
He was staying there for 2.5, almost 3 weeks, and that's not living there. I found out that he was a sex offender after the second week. And
That is not true.
I'm sorry, but I was a little bit fearful for me and my daughter's safety. So I invited my boyfriend to come stay with me for a few days. The third night that he was there, me and her got into a big argument, and she basically told me that either we got out or she was pretty much going to make us get out.
That's not true.
And I told her that I thought that it was pretty ridiculous that she was going to pretty much choose this 43-year-old sex offender over me and her supposed niece, because that's what she liked to call my daughter.
That's not true.
They lived together for 2 weeks, and in them 2 weeks, I had her daughter like 9 to 10 days. I mean,
Where was she
Really,
those
it really-
9 to 10 days?
they were at their house in Indianapolis.
For 9 straight days. You know,
No,
you smoking
often-
crack too. That's a binge.
Defendant Amanda Tishner rented an apartment with the plaintiff until the plaintiff moved in her 43-year-old boyfriend, who's a convicted sex offender.
Well, I got news for you, and I like to tell people this all the time. Most people will choose their mate over anybody.
Yes, that is true.
Friends, cousins, parents.
Yeah.
Folks can't come between relationships because you're likely to lose because of a variety of factors, not including if their heads are getting knocked up against the wall. Right? You definitely can't interfere with that. That's definitely a lost cause.
But
Man, let's get to the rent and damages.
We moved in. I paid for all expenses, the rental truck, the new furniture, because we lived with our parents, so we didn't have living room
What was the
furniture.
agreement when you all moved in?
That we would split the rent in half,
How much was that to be?
$248 a month.
Okay. And what months did she fail to pay? How many?
10.
Okay.
She's actually still on my
She
lease.
broke the lease?
Yeah, she's still on my
Okay.
lease.
And was there a reason?
I on the 5th day of her boyfriend living with us, I told him he had to move out. Not only did he tell me that he had been in trouble for burglary before, also, we could have got evicted for having anyone other than us two living in our house. So the 5th day I told him he had to get out. She left with him that day. The next day I called her and asked her when she was coming home. She told me she would be there the following day to get all of her things, that she was leaving.
Okay. Ma'am, did
actually,
you leave and break the lease?
she kicked me out, and that's the argument
Not
that I
true.
was explaining to you.
And what happened with the
We
argument?
got into an argument, and I told her that if he had to leave, then I wanted her sex offender boyfriend to leave for the safety of my daughter.
true.
She told me no. And I told her that, if she didn't make him leave, basically I was going to call the police and let them know that he was there. And she told me that me and my curse word boyfriend could get out
That's
with
not
my
true,
daughter.
Mom.
So I left. So I was kicked out.
You're on the lease. She can't put you out.
She told me to leave, so I did.
You wanted to leave with your boyfriend. And you all got these boyfriend issues, but nah, I'm not going to get involved. Yours is a crook and yours is a sex fiend, so I'm not getting involved in
But
that.
I have statements from my mother stating that, in fact, Jeannie did call me and tell me that she was going to find somebody to take over my end of the lease.
No, she has an obligation to do so.
And
Ma'am, did you do that?
Yes.
Did you find someone? You have an obligation to find a substitute roommate, and people should know that. And if you don't, they're only responsible for rent from a reasonable amount of time that it should have taken you to get a replacement. And that's in my court and in many others interpreted as about 3 months. So I'm going to order her to pay 3 months of rent. And what damages do you have you'd like
The
for her to pay?
stains on the wall,
Let me
and
see it, please.
there's also a hole in the
You have
hallway
the
wall.
estimates?
No, sir.
How do I know how much to give
I'm
you?
just thinking that I'm gonna repaint the wall in the bedroom. So $100
You
to
should
repaint
want
it.
some estimates, ma'am. We can't guess. All right, your counterclaim $1,150 you want for rent. How so?
Because of the fact that she did kick me and my daughter out, and we would have been homeless. I had to pay rent for those 2 months, and I also had to pay a deposit of $200, or actually $300. And I have all the receipts here with me for you to see. And she also lied to me and told me that that her herself was not suing me, that the apartment complex
All
was.
right, now you know. All right, so, ma'am, I'm not convinced that you left based on her telling you you could leave. That's not putting you out. Your roommate tells you can leave. You tell your roommate, I got a lease. You can leave. As I told you, you don't get in between her and her boyfriend. And that's exactly what I'm hearing happened. And as a result, lifelong friends argued about a crook and a sex fiend. That's what you all did. And you ran off. You left with your crook and married him, and you still got the sex fiend or sex
No,
offender
sir.
or whatever he is.
We had broke up the same day he moved out, or they moved out.
Because he beat her up and kept her in the
No, sir.
apartment. Yeah.
Not true.
All right. Nonetheless, I'm going to give her 3 months worth of rent, and that's the time in which you should have found another. And that would be how much?
$744.
$744 is your judgment, ma'am. Judgment for the plaintiff. Your claim is dismissed. Have a good day.
I mean, I don't know who you think you are, but to sit there on national TV and downgrade me like that, I am not a crackhead.
You know it's
Far
true.
from a crackhead,
You know
Amanda.
it's true. You were. You left your.
No,
You left
I
your
did not leave
children.
no one.
Yeah,
I'm the
that's
one
why
that took care of
Jeannie's
your
told me
children for days and days and
several
days and
stories
days
about it, right?
You don't have a clue.